Greetings. Today I will talk about the first recorded earthquake felt by the New England colonists. For a terrifying 4 minutes, the ground shook as chimneys fell and buildings rattled. Then it passed. Before getting started, I would encourage you to subscribe to the Mossy Feet Books YouTube channel for more great content. If you like my videos, please hit the like button. The more likes I get, the more YouTube will show it to other people, allowing me to grow the channel. I also encourage you to visit my website, www.mossyfeetbooks.com. There you will find sample chapters, podcasts, a slew of content, and links to where you can buy my books. While visiting the website, you subscribe to it and receive email notifications when I publish a new book or other content like this video and podcast. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1665. It was a sunny, warm, and pleasant day in New England. The colonists were involved in their normal, everyday activities. In Plymouth, some of the settlers had adjourned a meeting to discuss a proposed migration to another area. In Newbury, Massachusetts, the town residents were attending a town meeting. Farmers worked in their fields and wives tended their chores. Sometime between 1 and 2 o'clock, a curious low rumble began in the north. The rumble increased like low thunder as it approached. People paused in their tracks, wondering at the sound. Then the ground began to shake. People staggered about like a sudden epidemic of drunkenness had afflicted everyone at the same time. The great stone chimneys on many houses shook apart and fell. In the harbors, the ships bobbed up about on the quivering sea, and islands shook with the same intensity as the mainland. The shaking lasted about 4 minutes before subsiding. Disquieted, the people resumed their tasks. About a half hour later, an aftershock hit. Though not as intense or as long, it caused further alarm. These aftershocks continued for about 20 days. William Bradford occurred the account in his history, Bradford's History, this year, quote, this year, 1638, about ye 1 or 2, the June was a great fearful earthquake. It was in this place heard before it was felt. It came with a rumbling noise or a low murmur like unto remote thunder. It came from ye north and passed southward. As ye knew noise approached nearer, the earth began to shake and came at length with that violence caused platters, dishes, and such like things as stood upon the shelves to clatter and fall down. Yea, persons were afraid of ye houses themselves. It so fell out at the same time that divers of ye chief of the towns were met together at one house, conferring with some of their friends that were upon their removal from ye place, as if ye Lord would remove and show ye signs of his displeasure in their shaking and pieces removal from one another. However, it was very terrible for a time, and as ye men were sat talking in ye house, some women and others were without ye doors, and ye north earth shook with violence, and yet they could not stand without catching hold of ye posts and pails, yet stood next time, but the violence lasted not long. About a half an hour, more or less, came another noise and shaking, but neither so loud nor as strong as ye former. It quickly passed over, and so it ceased. It was not only on the seacoast, but the Indians felt it within land, and some ships that were upon the coast were shaken by it. So powerful is it, the mighty hand of the Lord, as to make both the heaven and sea shake, and the mountains to tremble before him as he pleases. It was observed that ye knew sombers for divers years together after this earthquake were not so hot and seasonable for yet ye ripening of the corn and other fruits as formerly, but more could moist and subject early and timely frosts, by which many times the Indian corn came not to mature, but whether this cause or any, I leave it to naturalists to judge, unquote. Edward Johnson quoted wonder-working providence of science savior in New England. Edward Johnson, the founder of Wilford, Massachusetts, recorded this. Quote, this year, the first day of the 4th month, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the Lord caused a great and terrible earthquake, which was general throughout all the English plantations. The motions of the earth was such that it caused divers men that had never known an earthquake before, being at work in the fields, to cast down their working tools and run with ghastly, terrified looks. To the next company they would meet withal, it came from the western and inhabited parts of the wilderness and went the direct course. John Winthrop, in his he had been deathly ill in the days preceding the earthquake. He recorded it as happening a bit later in the day. His account Quote, between 3 and 4 in the afternoon, being clear, warm weather, the wind westerly, there was a great earthquake. It came with a noise like a continued thunder or the rattling of coaches in London, but it was presently gone. New England colonists. It was at Connecticut, 4 minutes, the ground shook as chimneys fell and buildings rattled. All the parts round about. It shook before getting started. I would encourage at all the islands. The noise and shaking continued about 4 minutes. If you like the earth was unquiet, hit the like 20 days after the more likes I get, after the by time to other people, allowing me to grow the channel. Had just been exiled to Rhode Island, and she wrote, quote, the course of it was from west to east. You'll find sample chapters, podcasts, down the top of chimneys, and rattled the computer from the shelves. While visiting the website, the earthquake's epicenter was in New Hampshire, and people all over New England felt it. Or other content like this video and podcast. This episode is based on my book, Colonial American History Stories. Seismologists estimate that it was a powerful earthquake. It was somewhere in the range of 6.5 to 7 point. The colonists were involved in their normal everyday activities. Based on my book, Colonial American History Stories, 1215 through 1664, available on the website www.mossyfeetbooks.com. The book is the first book in this timeline, in the 6-volume timeline of the United States History Series. Discover some of the famous and also some of the almost forgotten historic stories of America. The story begins with the signing of the Magna Carta in 1215 and the beginnings of the concept of limited government, and ends for now with the beginning of the American Revolution in 1775. The articles in the book have much more detail, as well as articles not included in this podcast series. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and thank you for listening.